In order to understand who I am, I need to talk a little bit first about my dad. My dad's a China Marine at the end of World War II. 2 weeks after he clears his physical, he's diagnosed with polio. Told he would never walk again. You see him in a wheelchair here now, but trust me, he did walk. And he raised 9 kids. And when I think about who I am, a lot of what I got is from my dad. We had chores. Like, you did not go out and play on Saturdays until you did your chores, and they were inspected. There were standards, and you were held accountable. You didn't watch TV until your homework was done. When the Pinewood Derby showed up, my dad didn't build the diorama. He handed me the block of wood, pointed me to the garage, and said, "Good luck." Now, I came in dead last, you know, but I built that car. And by the way, I had to pay for the spray paint. I had to build that car, and it was horrendous. But when I got to the Pinewood Derby and saw all the other cars that had been built, it was clear that those had been built by the other fathers. And my dad could have built mine. Who knows where we would place, but I did. I'm not joking. I came in dead last. I was devastated. In 5th grade, I went out for the basketball team. And this is back in the day where there were winners and losers, and you didn't get a trophy for trying and playing. And kids got cut. I got cut. I wasn't particularly athletic. And the coach says to me, "Oh, you were this close. You were the last guy I cut. In fact, I think I've been looking. I think there might be an extra uniform in the basement. If I find it, you'll get it." So I go home and I tell my parents I didn't make the team. Keep in mind that my brother, I'm one of 9, 10 years older than me, was the MVP of the county all-star team. And I'm getting cut from the basketball team. So my father made me every day go in and ask that coach if he found the extra uniform. I just didn't want to do it. And I think one day I didn't. That was a mistake. But finally, at the end of 2 weeks, I don't know whether he stitched it himself. He finally said, "Yes, I've got an extra uniform. Show up at practice." And I never thought of anything at the time. I was just doing it because my dad told me I had to. But it was an important life lesson. But to truly understand me, you need to understand my dad. Anybody? P. Diddy, no. Another guess. What? Will Smith. I just love this, right? We think of Will Smith as this mega movie star. You know what he sees himself as? Below average rapper, below average looks, below average actor. But he's a Terminator. I have a drive. And really that's what we're hoping to talk about today, and we're hoping to instill in all of our teams is that drive. You know? Earlier it was like people like capitalism. Capitalism is a great word. I love winning, and I hate losing, and I think the people in this room feel that same way. I will not stop until I win. Well, when I was 13 years old, I decided I wanted to go to West Point. For the next 9 years, that became the focus of my life. I went from being an A or a B, A minus B plus student to a straight A plus student. I was captain of this, president of that, Meals on Wheels. But actually, I had a few hurdles to overcome. Because I showed up, I was 6'2", 127 pounds. I could only do 17 push-ups. It was a long summer in 1985. The standard was 42, so I was just a couple push-ups short. And it was tricky. I think I was 4 pounds over whatever the minimum amount of weight you were allowed to be at that height. And I had some challenges. I had a number of cadets tell me, "You don't belong here." I had some of my trainers in those first 6 weeks say, "When I come back in 6 weeks after the second cadre, I bet him $20 you won't be here. That's how confident I am that you're not going to be here." Then I got arrested over Christmas, my plebe year, drunk and disorderly. I had to go visit a 3-star general. I went into his office, and you can picture it, the mahogany, giant desk and a giant chair. Who's on the wall? Eisenhower, Patton, Grant, Bradley, MacArthur. The room is spinning. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nauseous. And eventually, I did get found guilty of bringing discredit upon the Corps cadets. And this 3-star general decided whether I stayed or went. And he took a bet on me. I was given 35, 120, and 3. 35 demerits, 120 area tours. That's where you dress up in your full parade uniform and you march back and forth in a courtyard. 1 hour, 120. I had 120 every weekend for, I think, 9 months. The 3 is the hard part. The 3 is restricted to your room. You're allowed to go to class, to your room. Did I mention class? And that's it. You're not allowed to visitors. You can't go visit people. They can't come visit you for 90 days. They're basically asking you to leave. And no plebe had ever been given a 35, 120, and 3 and survived. When I was 17 and went into West Point, I decided I want to be an Airborne Ranger. I spent the next 4 years of my life moving towards that goal. The first time I went in, I failed push-ups. I'm starting to see a theme. I'm not exactly an upper body man. Only 1 out of 3 people that go in that make it. So you have to go through extensive training, extensive selection, and even then, 2 out of 3 people wash out of Ranger School. Well, I washed out. And I could have just said, hey, I tried, and gone on to my unit. In fact, I was told, you're not going to get another chance. There's a captain. He doesn't let anybody go. Once you go to assignment and you fail out of Ranger School, especially the first week, you're out. But I went and saw that guy, and I said, I am not going to my unit until I get to go back into Ranger School. So I went back into Ranger School. And I got recycled, which is a little way of saying a mini failure, right? Because you're allowed to fail any task twice. The only other thing I want to point out about a Ranger School and why it impacted my ability to react the way I did to the adversity I faced in my life is there's a mountain phase, right? There's a regular, there's urban, there's swamp phase, there's desert phase, and there's a mountain phase. And that's all about mountain climbing and gearing. And I had to climb this wall, and you're allowed to fail at any task twice. And I'd already failed once. And I'm on this cliff face, and I've got my mountaineering gear on, and I'm about 5 feet from the top. And for those folks that have worked out to that point of fatigue where you go to failure, what starts to happen, right? Your legs are shaking and your arms are shaking. And I screamed out at the top of my lungs, I can't. And normally the RIs are waiting for you to quit. The Ranger instructor, RI, Ranger instructor. Go ahead and quit, loser. You're a loser. Quit now. But for some reason that guy screamed and goes, yes, you can, get up here. And I did it. And I swore to myself I'd never say I can't again. So here I am, enjoying a drink. You'll see this in about another 20 minutes. And I had done, I had my MBA. I had my success. I had been part of an IPO. I had been part of a successful growing a company, a successful exit. And I got back from a trip, the American Magazine Conference, down in Puerto Rico. I was still staying at the El Conquistador. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. And there was a Western Union telegram posted on my apartment. And it was a call back to duty. It wasn't an invitation. It was more of an insistence. But the interesting thing is, and I know that I'm giving a 30-minute talk. It's hard for you to understand. 12 years. I wasn't in the National Guard. I didn't drill in the week. I hadn't had a uniform on, thought about having a uniform on, but I was in something called the IRR, the Individual Ready Reserves. I'm an individual. I'm ready, arguably. And I'm in the reserves. And off to Baghdad I went in civil affairs. And those are the folks that do all the reconstruction, essential services, economic development. I was coaching and mentoring the newly elected mayor of Sadr City, a slum of 2.2 million people. It's only 2 miles by 2 miles square. They were the most militant Shia. They were in the news, right? That's where Muqtada al-Sadr and many of the battles for Baghdad took place. It was a dark place with a dark reputation. It was a dangerous place that people didn't go. You just didn't go into Sadr City, and I was the civil affairs officer. I had to go there 3 times a week. When we talk about doing things right and having that commitment, a lot of people will go into their routine. And we all do it. We all make that mistake. But I insisted that any time we went and we're going to leave the wire and put 18 lives at stake under my command, we were going to do a full-blown 5-page op order. And it takes an hour, and then we would do a mission briefing every morning. Usually within a couple of weeks of a unit getting into wherever they are, they're like, you know, we're going to go here, we're going to run up there, that's route blue, and the rest is SOP. And that became the mission brief. And I said, I'm not on my watch. So this is one of those persistent practices. I said, I owe it to my troops. This is my strength: planning, operations, leadership. But I'm not going to let them leave the wire without me having done all my due diligence, check my routes, check my security, check the red flags. We went to Baghdad. It was the worst conditions I had ever seen. And I started to develop an attraction for these innocent kids who were living in corrugated tin shacks, swimming in cesspools. They had nothing. Like, can you imagine being a mother in Baghdad? It was surreal, right? Because you're in a combat zone, but there's a fruit basket, there's a fruit market, there's commerce, there's teachers, there's schools open. They're trying to get on with their lives, and there's a major insurgency, an army, and the Iraqi army, and the Iraqi police patrolling the streets, and it was just really surreal. And I remember thinking, like, there was mothers there. It's 125 degrees Fahrenheit. You got 3 kids. You're deciding which one gets water today? There was no running water. There was an hour of electricity. There was no food. Like, they're not different than us. They just want a decent life, a decent education, decent opportunities for their kids. And they were innocent. They really were just innocent kids. September 9th, somebody's shooting at some of our contractors. We go out there, 3 Humvees, about 18 folks. We're looking around, you know, and you know, I did get that spidey sense, you know, and you see the bullet holes in all the cars, and there's no scene, and no one wants to talk to us. No one wants to tell us what they saw, what's happening. There's not a contractor within a mile, right? They scattered as soon as the bullets started flying. So then I said, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go. A couple mistakes. One, the guy giving the signals is usually in charge. That signal is, we're leaving, so you better shoot somebody now. Why don't you shoot the guy that's in charge that's just standing there? Boom. I get shot. Now here's where it's interesting, because as I get blown off my feet, I don't see my boots. I see my boots, they stay on the ground. So now I realize I've been separated from my legs. And as I lay on the ground, I remember thinking, you know, I'm looking up. I'm afraid to look down. I knew I was going to bleed out. I figured I had 30 to 60 seconds because my legs had been severed. And you know, your life doesn't flash in front of your eyes. I don't know if it says that, but I was like, damn. Like, I was so mad. It's like, I can't believe I'm going to die right here. Like, I can't believe this is it. And then a buddy of mine calls out to me. He calls out from a distance. Tom, can you walk at all? That was the greatest question I have heard in my entire life. Because, no, but you know, I couldn't walk, but at least my legs were still there. And if he was asking the question, it meant I was wrong. My boots had come with me. But I was shot in the spine, so you can see why my nervous system sent me a message: you've been cut in half. And visually, I guess, I should have looked and watched my boots follow me. So I said, no, I can't. He says, well, wait there, wait a second. I said, hold on, I'm going to throw smoke. Because we know it's a sniper. There's not a bunch of bullets flying. It wasn't a roadside bomb, which I had thought to cut me in half. I said, hold on, I'm going to throw smoke. He goes, no, no, no. So I popped smoke to obscure the area so they could come grab me without being at risk of being shot themselves. I get evacuated. I was actually brought to about a mile away, prepped, put on a bird, brought to the major hospital. I was actually allowed to call my wife. She says, you know, and I'm trying to calm her down and make it sound like it's not a big deal. You know, she's like, are they giving you painkillers? They don't give painkillers to Rangers. The first 4 months, they only ever did one surgery on me. And if you look at the model as it makes its way around the room, like my hips weren't compromised, thank goodness. But my pelvis, there's nothing to rod or pin into. So I literally had to lay in a bed. And the first 3 weeks, I couldn't move my left leg. So that's why doctor said that you might not never walk again. You might not walk again because I couldn't move my left leg. You know, we talk about dark days. That's a bit of a struggle, right? You're happy to be there. You're glad to be alive. But you're trying to adjust to the new normal. So for the first 4 months, I had to lay flat on my back and wait for the bones to find themselves and re-knit. And look, you got some fun visitors. Stevie Nicks, Jeff Johnson, Tom Lehman. Over drinks, I'll tell you the story about Justin Timberlake. He's actually got a great sense of humor. Behind President Bush is my first wife. So just when you thought this story was almost over, it takes another turn. My first day that I was supposed to be out of the hospital and she was supposed to pick me up, she didn't show up. About 4 days later, she finally did show up and she said, I want to focus on my own life, my own happiness. That's a dark day. The person that you were counting on to be your support, to get you through this, like a rug being pulled out from underneath you. Like the person that you had said, I'm going to spend my life for better, for worse, in sickness and health, I meant it, you know, and it was just sad, you know. So this is what happened. I continued those efforts. When I was in the hospital, I don't know if anybody does business with Sean Finnegan or Bill Flatley. Remember, he was heading up Forbes.com at the time. So Sean Finnegan, Bill Flatley, Paul Bremer actually were the ones that started the TD Foundation. So all that humanitarian aid and all the efforts of the digital media industry actually continued, and we formalized it. I'm not that narcissistic. I didn't come up with the name. Somebody else did. We now call it TD Foundation, but we help distribute goods. This is ongoing. We're now in our 6th year of operations. We've raised over $700,000. I'm proud to announce that we're doing another heart mission this spring, where another 6 Iraqi children with heart defects are going to be flown into Jordan, and we're going to save their lives. We've partnered with School is Open in Afghanistan, and we're establishing a multi-year program for pen pals with Skype and email between high schools in LA and girls in Afghanistan. Something that we're particularly proud of, which goes back to my days as a civil affairs officer, it's not just, you know, it's great if you can help folks, right? You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. We've partnered with Mission Restore and Cure International, and it's a 5-year program that we've committed to supporting, where they're going to train a handful of Afghan doctors outside of Kabul, and they're going to teach them using the exact same standards, the exact same techniques, the exact same equipment on reconstructive surgery. So they can do burn cases and orthopedic reconstruction. And it turns out that Mission Restore is a mile from my house. So for you folks, and you're thinking about getting involved in your local community, I don't care what your zip code is, within 5 miles of your house, there's somebody that needs your help. From a business perspective, I usually try and impress people talking about ThunderCat Technology. That was my call sign in Baghdad, ThunderCat 6, hence the name. We were founded in April of 2008, and this past year we did $148 million in top line. We were one of Forbes' America's Most Promising Companies. I think there's a couple other companies even in the room that made that list. So normally I try and impress people. You guys are like, number 40? Come on, step it up. We're number 178 on the VAR 500. Riverbed, we're their top federal partner. It's a systems integrator. We sell data center solutions for the federal government, all the different agencies there. NetApp, 2 years in a row, we were their top folks. And we're in the middle of getting certified as a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. So that's kind of my story. And I just want to end it with another couple of quotes. There's something that Michael Jordan and I have in common, right? For people that want to claim that he's a natural. Does anyone know what that story is? It was in his Hall of Fame acceptance speech. Go ahead, Paul. He got cut from his high school basketball team. People forget. They think Michael Jordan, the greatest or arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. He practiced and he practiced and he practiced. And he was willing to admit, 26 times I was counted on to make the game-winning shot and I missed it. Right? Everyone has obstacles. You figure out how to go around them. This is how you contact me. I didn't know if there was going to be a handout for this, but if you need to reach out to me through First Mark, you can, or I'll give you a card at cocktails. Recognize anyone?